Something is ritualized when my heart is in sync with it. And I place my heart into that as I do or I be that thing. Hello, witches, tarot tubers, spiritual practitioners out there. April here on Tarot and Witchery, and today I'm going to do kind of a handsy video. Just wanted to reflect and kind of share some of these reflections, and I wanted to hear your thoughts on this as well. Today I drew the card Ritual from the Folktales Oracle. And I really was thinking about ritual in my life. I was thinking about the types of rituals that I partake in. I'm not a particularly ritualized witch. I don't particularly care for ceremonial magic. But what I do is I do engage in a lot of ritual that's based around the seasons and cycles of the land. And of course, we all have cycles within ourselves. And what's interesting is, for me, it's really important to partner with the seasonal rhythms. And right now it's fall in the Northern Hemisphere. And for me, this is such a time of deep and powerful reflection. It's a time of taking stock in a lot of ways and for really good reason. Right now, when I look around on my land, I have all sorts of things that are coming to fruition. I am looking into the harvest right now, and I am bringing the food in, and I'm getting ready to make apple butter. How many of you make apple butter? I'm freezing blackberries. I'll make pear butter. I'll dry tons of fruit. It's a time of canning. But it's also a time of really looking at the land for me and seeing what worked and what didn't. And it's really obvious at this time. And so I look at this in my own life. And so it's a time of really deep reflection for me. And just particularly with everything that I've been going through lately, it's important for me to take stock during this time. During this time of abundance, when I go out to my orchard, I have a chance to look at how a tree is performing, how much fruit it's bearing, or if it didn't bear fruit, where it bore fruit. What does the tree look like? Why is it doing well? Why isn't it doing well? What could I have done better? What do I need to do next? There's so many things that I look at during this time of year. And so taking this to myself, I'm really looking at my life, looking at what is harvesting right now, what is really in the realm of abundance for me and what isn't. And so I kind of wanted to challenge all of you to sort of take this little walk with me and to maybe do some self-reflection. Many of you had stated when I did my video on being in the consumerism vortex that you were there too. And I feel like this is really a sign of where we are right now as a collective in needing to refine ourselves, needing to really get in touch with our values and see how all of that is lining up with who we are and what we're doing. So years ago, when I moved out here to the farm, I had never farmed. I had a degree in horticulture, but I was not used to, farming in rows, straight lines of rows, and to doing so for yields of fruit or produce. And we decided to do onions. And now look at this. I've got this big gash on me, you guys, from getting out there picking fruit. We decided to do onions, and we needed to fertilize, and we went out to get the fertilizer, and we were so broke at that time. Oh my gosh. And I said, why don't we just spread the fertilizer really thin? And my husband said, if you want to slow the fertilizer really thin, then don't even bother planting the crop. And because the truth is that if you plant 100 bed feet of onions and you fertilize them the way they need to be fertilized and watered the way they need to be watered, you're going to have nice big yields, right? But if I plant 200 bed feet of onions and I give them half the fertilizer, I'm going to have double the work tending the ground, getting the weed pressure off. I'm going to use double the water, and I'm going to get half the yield. So it's double the work for half the yield. I hope I'm making sense there. And so I'm just kind of looking around right now and going, okay, where in my life is there not that equal exchange? Where in my life am I sowing into things that do not reflect my values? Because I really don't want to be doing that. I really don't want to be sowing into that in those ways. Coming back to what we ritualize, what's ritual? Ritual is repetition, or, are you ritualizing your life through conscious placement of energy, or are you habitualizing your life? Are things just habits, and so you keep doing them? For me, I'm really looking at this, and you can see she's reflecting in the pool. And I just want to say this, in order to do this, you don't need your tarot cards. You don't need your oracle cards. As a matter of fact, you need to put all of that away. You don't need crystals. You don't need your scrying glass. You don't need any of that. What you need is some real good, hard honesty, and you need to be alone with yourself in the silence. Letting your mind run out until there's nothing there, but you're alone with yourself. And you can see her out here just alone in the woods, gazing deeply. Because if we don't do that, if I don't do that, then I don't have balance. Look at that, balance comes up. I don't have balance. I don't have the equal light and dark. I'm not in a place where I'm in sync with what's going on. I'm not in sync with who I am and whether or not that's in alignment with what I'm doing. And I think it's a really big deal for me right now to be looking at that, and getting out of the consumerism is part of that for me. Moving away from consumerism and being with what I have, utilizing it, looking at my values, looking at what I really value in myself and in life, and making sure that those values are at the core of what I do. So it's interesting, going back to my trees, it's a great time for evaluating relationships, for really taking stock of relationships and making sure that they're in alignment with your values, making sure that they feel right. Sometimes we're just going along and we're going through the motions and we don't even realize that we've gotten out of sync with who we really are, and we're forgetting who we are. Again, we become habitualized in our life, rather than ritualized, rather than really seeing ourselves reflected in everything that we do and that we are. Does anybody out there know what I mean? I'm kind of curious. Go ahead and give me a yes down below if you do, if you get it, what I'm saying. So, right now, while there's all this abundance, I can see what's right with my land. And so it's the same in my life. If I stop and take a look and take that time to reflect, then I can see where the abundance is naturally flowing in my life, where that's in lock sync with who I am, and that feeling of being in alignment with my values and actually my core soul purpose, my dharma, the peacefulness of my dharma in life here, and understanding that. And like this home came up. What a perfect card. A home is this place that should feel safe and inviting and warm. And I want my life to be safe and inviting and warm, a place where I have placed everything, where I have created a nest that supports me in being my best self and doing, living my calling. And maybe some of you haven't even looked into your calling. It doesn't have to be something really woo-woo. I want to be really clear on that. We're all called to be ourselves. We're all called to be authentic and to get over our fears and to allow ourselves to be healed of a sense of unworthiness in order to allow ourselves to shine our special light so that we can release our love of ourselves, true love of ourselves. I'm not talking about arrogance or, haughtiness, but rather, true self-love releases the people around us into the safety of themselves too. We create an atmosphere of safety. Look at this, friendship came up. What a perfect card for what I'm saying. The rabbit, the hare is being the hare. The hedgehog's being the hedgehog. The owl, they all run together, and in that beautiful sense of each one being an individual, they get to enjoy the safety of who they are and who each other is in their circle of friendship. It's a mystical unfolding of ourselves. The more we push into our authenticity and move away from our fears and deal with our trigger points, it's true, the more hope we have that not only for ourselves, but for others, for the world, which I really feel is really important for me right now, to feel hopeful about the journey that I'm taking in this world with all of you and with what I'm manifesting around myself as well. So trying to bring this back around, I don't want to get off too far, and I wanted to keep this kind of short. I don't even know how long this is, but the ritual of self, I just want to encourage every one of you to take some time and really push into the abundance of your life, really looking at it, and then push into the abundance of yourself and ask yourself, where am I spread too thin? Where am I spread so thin that I'm not yielding a harvest? Can I pull back in some areas? What aspects of my life need to be pruned? The Bible has this really harsh statement where it says that the vine tender cuts all the branches that do not produce fruit, and they are thrown into the fire and burned. And I love that, because when we take off those branches, we can compost them. We can take all of that energy and we can compost it. We can reclaim the energy, because when a tree has too many limbs and not enough light, if I have trees and they're crowded, maybe you have so many projects and they're crowded and they're all trying to get light, they're not able to get the light that they need so that they can flourish. Maybe it's time to take some things out, just boom, thin things. Maybe there's places in your life where it's become weedy, and it's time to remove those weeds in order to allow there to be more nutrients for the soil. Weeds take water, they take light, they take nutrients from the plants that you want. And this came up, forgiving. So maybe that's part of your weeding, is taking out unforgiveness in your life, not just towards other people, but towards yourself. Where have you not forgiven yourself for things? Can you take those icky weeds out and allow yourself to just simply have that ground to enjoy and grow strong in? Maybe you have friendships that you need to reevaluate. I always say, if your friendships aren't upgrading on a regular basis, every year, they won't last. You cannot you are not the same and that person is not the same. So it is the loving thing to do to upgrade our friendships. And if we can't upgrade our friendships, then maybe it's time to cut them out or prune how much, light and energy we allow them to get. Maybe there's places in your life where you need to cultivate new ground. I'm just using the cards as I go here. And find some courage to cultivate something new. And it might take courage to cut off things that are no longer, I've had times where I have put tons of energy into something and then I've cut it off. I've had to cut it off. I've had to say, you know what, this just, even though I put all this energy into it, it just isn't going to go where I want it to go. And I need to let it go. And sometimes that's the courageous thing, is to cut something off and to let it go and to actually stand alone with yourself and let there be new beginnings in your life, and to wait for that. Sometimes the brave thing is to have nothing fill that space, but to keep the land clear and to wait for the right thing to come up. What are you ritualizing in your life, and what are you habitualizing in your life? Ritual is something to me that is intentional, that is done from the heart. Something is ritualized when my heart is in sync with it, and I place my heart into that as I do or I be that thing. So let me know if you get what I'm saying. It's a great time for transformation, for sure. But transformation does not come from doing the same thing. Transformation is something new. So I guess, what I've been doing is kind of combing my life, sitting still with myself and looking at areas of my life in order to feel them, to really feel, does this feel good? Like when I look at a relationship, does this feel good? How does this need to be upgraded? Does this need to be downgraded? Does this need to be pruned? Does this need to be removed? Does this need to be fertilized? Like what? And is it in alignment with who I am? Is it in alignment with who I am? Here we have the temple card. You are a divine temple. Each temple is built for a specific deity. You and your temple is built for you. Are you honoring your temple? Are you honoring your structure? Are you honoring your values? Are you honoring who you are? Is that reflected in your life? Let me know if any of you are feeling this at all. And thanks for taking this ride with me. Look, here we are at endings. Here we are at the end of this video. And again, I'm asking you, are you ritualizing your life? Are you habitualizing your life? Go ahead and leave me an animal emoji at the bottom if you got to the end of this. That would be really cool. Until we meet again, may you have the strength to truly reflect, to gaze deep into the waters of your soul, and to reflect on who you are, embrace that, and then choose to make conscious steps in life in a ritualized, sacred fashion that then reap a harvest of who you are.